Quiet now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind. You're going to dance until your feet fall off. You're not able to stand up any longer. But we're going to have a show.
Welcome to the Pink Door Podcast.
Good to be here. We have quite the report to dig into today.
Quite the report is, I think, putting it mildly. Usually when we do these deep dives, we're hunting for these subtle trends, you know?
Right, a percentage point here or there.
Exactly. We're looking for the signal and the noise. But this January 2026 report for Norwell, Massachusetts, zip code 02061-. I mean, we don't need a magnifying glass.
No, not at all.
We need a telescope to see how high these numbers have gone. I opened this RPR report this morning, and I genuinely thought there was a typo.
I think I know exactly which number you're talking about.
It's the big one, the median sold price. For January 2026, the median price for a home that sold in Norwell was $1,270,000.
Wow, 1.27 million.
It's a massive number on its own, but the context is what's just, well, it's crazy. That's a 48.6% increase month over month.
Almost 50% in a month.
Basically, yeah. So the mission for our deep dive today is pretty urgent. We need to figure out, did the value of every single home in Norwell actually jump by half while we were all, recovering from New Year's?
Right. Or is the data telling us a different story?
Because if I'm a homeowner there, I'm thinking about cashing out right now.
It's a classic headline versus reality moment. You just read that top line number, you'd think we were in some kind of hyperinflationary bubble. But the data isn't lying. It's very specific to what happened in those 31 days.
Okay, so talk me off the ledge. If I own a standard 3-bedroom colonial in Norwell, nothing super fancy, maybe the kitchen needs an update. Did I just make, $400,000 in January?
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but probably not. To understand why, you have to look at the difference between the sold price and the estimated value.
Break that down. Why are those two different?
So the sold price is just a record of the specific transactions that closed that month. It's a really small sample size.
It only counts the houses that actually moved.
Exactly. But the median estimated property value, which is the algorithm looking at the entire housing stock of the town, every single house, that number is sitting at about $1,048,000.
Okay, so the scoreboard for sale says $1.27 million. But the town average is closer to $1.05 million.
That's the key distinction. And here's the kicker. That estimated value, the overall value of the town, it actually ticked down slightly last month, about 3.5%.
Wait, really? So the baseline value is stable, maybe even softened a little bit?
It did. And that massive disconnect, that tells us one thing.
The mix is skewed.
The mix is skewed.
Yeah.
The specific houses that happened to close in January were the heavy hitters. We're talking luxury properties, maybe new construction, the big sales that drag that median number way, way up.
So it's not that every house is worth more, it's just that only the really expensive houses sold.
Think of it like a classroom. If you measure the average height of all the students, it's one number. But if only the basketball team shows up to school one day, the average height for that day jumps to, 6'6".
Right. It doesn't mean everyone else grew a foot overnight.
Exactly. So the basketball team sold in January. That's the story.
Okay, that's a great analogy. So let's talk about the activity then, because another thing I keep seeing is this inventory squeeze. We've been saying low inventory for what feels like 5 years straight. Is January any different?
Not really. If anything, it's just confirming the new normal. The month of inventory is sitting at 1.94.
So less than 2 months.
Right. And for listeners who don't speak real estate agent, we should probably contextualize that. In a perfectly balanced market, where buyers and sellers have sort of equal power, you're looking for 6 months of inventory.
6 months. So if no one listed another house, it would take 6 months to sell everything currently for sale.
Correct. That's what we call balance.
Yeah.
When you are under 2 months, that is a deep, deep seller's market. Scarcity is the name of the game.
And that's even with prices this high. You'd think that would tempt more sellers.
You would think so, but we're still dealing with the lock-in effect. Even if I can sell my house for a huge profit, I then have to turn around and buy something else. And if I'm sitting on a 3% mortgage from 2021, I really don't want to trade that for today's rates.
That makes a lot of sense. So inventory stays tight. Now, what about the pace? I saw the median days in RPR is at 22 days.
22.
Now, to me, 22 days sounds fast, but it doesn't sound panicked. It sounds like 3 weeks. I can handle 3 weeks.
See, that's the trap. That number is the median. It includes the outliers, the overpriced homes, the ones with weird layouts that might sit for a couple of months.
So the stragglers are pulling the average up.
Completely. If you strip those out and just look at the desirable homes, the turnkey ones priced correctly, the real number isn't 22 days. It's barely a week.
Wow.
And we'll get into some specific examples of that speed in a minute. But before we do, we have to talk about the biggest anomaly in this whole report.
I think I know where you're going. The tale of two markets.
It is the weirdest gap I have seen in a long time.
Okay, so let me set the scene. We just established the median sold price was $1.27 million. That's what people actually paid. But then you look at the median list price for homes currently on the market.
The ones you can go see this weekend?
And that number is $2,500,000.
$2.5 million.
It's practically double. How is that possible? How can the average house for sale be twice as expensive as the average house that's actually selling?
It's all about the composition of what's on the shelf right now. It goes back to that inventory squeeze. The affordable stuff, and let's be clear, affordable in Norwell is, around $1 million. It sells so fast it basically disappears.
It doesn't stick around long enough to be counted in that active snapshot.
That's it. So the only things left on the active list are heavily weighted toward, luxury and new construction. Look at the specific addresses in the report.
I did pull those up. We have 21 Norwell Avenue.
A perfect example. It's listed at what? $1,864,999.
A cool $1.86 million.
But look what it is. It was built in 2026. It's brand new. 4 beds, 3 baths. This is a high-end custom product.
I can smell the fresh paint from here. Then you have 95 Stony Brook Lane.
Even bigger. That's a 2025 build, over 4,700 square feet, almost $1.8 million.
And it's not just the new builds. There's 179 Lincoln Street. That's an older home, 1968, but it's renovated on 2+ acres. They're asking $1.65 million.
So when you look at what's actually available to browse, of course, the median list price is $2.5 million. The only things left are these heavy hitters.
It's like walking into a car dealership and the only cars left on the lot are Ferraris and Lamborghinis.
Yes.
The Hondas and Toyotas were sold before they even got off the truck.
That is the perfect metaphor. The entry-level inventory is invisible because of its velocity.
Okay, so let's try to see the invisible. Let's look at the cars that drove off the lot immediately. This is the hot sheet.
This is where it gets a little stressful for buyers. Let's start with 348 Main Street.
Okay, 348 Main sold for $1.1 million. So closer to that normal range. How long did it last?
5 days.
5 days. So you see it on a Monday, and if you don't have an offer in by Friday, it's gone.
And Friday is being generous. Usually it's, open house on Sunday, offers due by Tuesday at noon. That's the rhythm.
Wow. Here's another one, 250 River Street, closed for $901,000.
Time on market, 6 days.
It's a pattern. This isn't a fluke.
And look at the pending stuff. The home's under contract right now. 720 Grove Street, listed at $824,900.
Which, for a single family in Norwell, is a very attractive number.
We went under contract in 6 days.
And for the people wondering if anything cheaper even exists, we did find one condo.
7 Nissinippi Avenue, Unit 205, listed at $419,000.
Under $500,000. Okay, so surely that sat a little longer.
Ending in 7 days.
Incredible. So whether you were spending $400,000 or $1.1 million, the market's message is identical.
Run, don't walk.
So if you're a buyer in that, let's call it the under $1.2 million lane, you can't be casual. You can't be thinking about getting pre-approved.
If you wait until you see the house to call the bank, you have already lost that house.
But I want to add a layer of nuance here, because when I hear sold in 5 days, I immediately think bidding war. I assume people are paying way over asking.
And that is the most surprising part of this January data. They aren't.
What do you mean?
The sold to list price percentage is sitting at 94.8%.
Wait, so homes are selling on average for about 5% under the asking price.
That's right. Even with the insane speed and the low inventory, buyers are holding on to some negotiating power. It's not the total frenzy of 2021 where people were waiving inspections and paying 15% over.
That is a crucial distinction. It's a fast market, not a reckless one. Why do you think that is?
I think it tells us sellers are pricing pretty aggressively. Remember that $2.5 million median list price. If sellers are aiming for the moon, buyers are saying, okay, I'll move fast, but I won't overpay. They're getting negotiated back down to reality.
And we have a great example of what happens when you aim too high. 260 River Street.
Yes, This is the perfect counterweight to the 5-day sprints. This is a big home sold for $1.9 million.
So it's nearly double the price of that other River Street house.
And it took 82 days to sell.
82 days versus 6 days. That's staggering.
That is the tale of two markets in a nutshell. If you are selling a luxury product near $2 million, the buyer pool is just much, much smaller. You need patience.
It's fascinating how the strategy just completely changes based on price point. You have the sprint lane and the marathon lane.
That's a great way to put it.
I want to zoom out a bit. We've been focused on the monthly numbers, which are volatile, but real estate's a long game. If I bought in Norwell, say, 3 years ago, how am I doing?
You're doing very, very well. But you have to look at the trend lines right. Over the last 12 months, values are basically flat, up 0.2%.
So 2025 was basically a year of stabilization.
It was. Prices found a high plateau and just sort of stayed there. Yeah. But if you widen that lens to the 36-month trend, values are up nearly 18%.
That is serious wealth creation right there.
It really is. It just confirms that Norwell is a blue-chip town. It's a stable, long-term hold.
And speaking of stability, what about distressed properties? Foreclosures, short sales, things like that?
The signals there are virtually non-existent. There was one single note in the entire report about a property at 18 Central Street, and it's already off market.
So basically zero.
Statistically zero. The homeowners in that zip code are financially secure. They have equity. They probably have those low mortgage rates we talked about.
The lock-in effect again?
Exactly. It's a self-reinforcing cycle. If you aren't forced to sell, you don't. And if you don't, inventory stays low.
And that tightness must bleed over into the rental market, too.
Oh, absolutely. The report mentioned one rental listing, another unit at 7 Assinipi Avenue.
What's it cost to rent a condo in Norwell these days?
$3,000 a month.
$3,000 for a condo. Wow. Okay, so let's try to synthesize all this. For our listeners trying to navigate this market, let's start with the buyers.
If you're a buyer, you need to know which lane you're in. Are you in lane 1 or lane 2?
Lane 1 being that under $1.2 million crowd.
Exactly. If that is you, you have to understand you are in a race. You have less than a week to act. That means being fully pre-approved, having a responsive agent, and being ready to write a clean offer on day 1.
And what about lane 2?
Lane 2 is the luxury, the new construction buyer. Let's say $1.5 million and up. If that's you, you can breathe.
You can actually take the weekend to think about it.
You can. You have options like Norwell Ave and Stony Brook. And you know that sold-to-list ratio is around 95%. You have room to negotiate. Don't assume you have to pay sticker price just because it's new.
That's such good advice. Now let's flip it. What about if you're a seller?
If you are sitting in a well-maintained home in that median price range, say $900,000 to $1.2 million, you are a unicorn. You are holding the asset that everybody wants.
That's a powerful position.
It is. But you have to stick the landing on price. If you get greedy and try to price your 1980s colonial like it's a new build, you're going to sit. You'll become that 82-day statistic.
So don't overplay your hand, price it right, and let the market do the work.
Exactly.
It all comes down to interpretation, doesn't it? That 48% jump is a great headline, but it's not the whole story.
Not at all. It's a story about a shift in the mix of what's selling. The underlying fundamentals, low distress, steady long-term appreciation, those haven't changed a bit.
You know, it's interesting. Before we wrap, I keep thinking about those new builds. It feels like the only fresh inventory is coming from builders.
That's a sharp observation. With so many homeowners locked in, new construction is the only real release valve for all this pressure. If we didn't have that, the inventory numbers would be even scarier.
That'll be the trend to watch this year, I think.
I agree.
Well, this has been an incredible look at 02061. We went from a jaw-dropping number to realizing it's a much more nuanced story about speed, segmentation, and being smart.
Always a pleasure to get behind the numbers.
Now, for everyone listening, if your head is spinning a bit with all these stat stays on market, list-to-sold ratios, sprint lanes versus marathon lanes, we know someone who can help you navigate it for real. If you have any questions about this episode, or if you are thinking about buying or selling a house anywhere on Boston's South Shore, from Southie to Sagamore, give Jim Aldred a call. He would love to speak with you. Jim believes that people in transition feel anxious about buying or selling a home, and he provides them with the guidance and security to help your family move on smoothly. Thanks for listening, and catch you on the next episode of the Pink Door Podcast.